I think monitor light bars are a useful accessory for most computer desk setups. They're a clean and minimal way to add some additional desk lighting without the clutter, thanks to them being USB powered and mounted on top of your display. They typically have an asymmetric light pattern to minimize light glare on the screen and allow you to dial in the brightness level and color temperature. And I really like them because they provide focused lighting for task work on the desk, and they add a little extra ambient lighting that helps me reduce eye strain working away on the computer late at night. But don't get the wrong impression with these monitor light bars. I don't think they should be used in isolation, but instead to complement your room lighting or any other ambient lights you might be using to keep your entire peripheral vision well illuminated when on your computer screen. So if you already have a normal desk lamp or other source of good desk lighting, this might not be necessary. And it's also important to highlight up front, the shape and design of your display is going to be a critical factor on whether it will even attach properly to your display, but I'll touch on that more later. So that answers why I like these monitor light bars. My next question was, do I buy an expensive $110 option or go for a cheaper one that's a third of the price? That's why I did what any rational person would do. I bought both. Hi, I'm David, and here's a quick comparison of a cheap and expensive monitor light bar. The two models I'm specifically looking at here are the BenQ ScreenBar that goes for around $110 US and is probably the most popular option in the market, while also being one of the most expensive. And then for the cheaper one, I chose this monitor lamp from Quntis that's only $35 US, which, as you'll see, is very similar to the BenQ. The controls on both are similar, with touch buttons for power and auto dimming, and the color temperature and brightness controls are changed with a tap and hold. But on the BenQ model, you also have the option to multi-tap instead. The light experience between the two is fairly similar, both being able to change between warm and cool colors, but they have a small difference in brightness, with the BenQ able to get a little brighter with more LEDs on the body, but the Quntis can get significantly dimmer, which can come in handy, because sometimes the BenQ can be too bright, even at its lowest setting. Both have a similar asymmetric light pattern to reduce glare on the screen, with no noticeable difference in real life. Both of these designs feature an auto dimming function, which I personally don't use because it's not great on either of them. In terms of build quality, I think these are both really good. Both feel really solidly built, both use USB-C connectors for power, both having a similar clean and minimal design, with the BenQ being a little nicer with less branding and being slightly longer. I also think the attachment on the clamp is a little better on the BenQ, which makes it easier to adjust the tilt of the light. But let's talk about that clamp system to attach it to your display, because in all honesty, that's the only significant difference I've noticed between these two. I find the BenQ clamp is designed better to handle a wide variety of monitor shapes. From thin screens to thick curved ones, the extra versatility comes from that spring-loaded and surprisingly heavy weight to keep the light bar solidly in place. In contrast, the Quntis uses a spring clamp that will only really work with square-edged displays, so if your screen frame is rounded, is bezel-less, or curved, I wouldn't recommend this since it doesn't hold securely or could even damage a bezel-less screen. Also, this model uses a relatively light counterbalance weight that isn't heavy enough, so I find it can wiggle a little bit when using the controls. I'm sure there's ways to solve this clamp support problem with 3D printing, adhesives, or even tying it down by the cable, but that's not a great solution for everyone. In terms of other cheap monitor bars, this clamp compatibility issue is a potential problem with a lot of different designs. So if you have a thicker, curvier shaped monitor, you really need to double check the clamp to see if it will work with your display. I'd also avoid designs with the controller built into the cable, because I like to keep the cables hidden behind the screen, and that makes them troublesome to access. But with those considerations in mind, here are a couple other light bars that I haven't personally tested, but on paper seem to be decent options. There's a Xiaomi design, and I think this one looks pretty well built, and I really like the wireless controller that would make changing brightness and color temperature much easier. On the downside, the clamp looks like it's limited to thin monitors, and availability is limited to overseas suppliers, which is why I never got around to buying this myself. If you want something similar, BenQ also has a more expensive model that uses a wired external controller if you don't mind having the extra clutter on your desk. And finally, if you can't find a clamp that works with your monitor, there's this Architect desk lamp from Phive that clamps to your desk. It's bigger and brighter, which makes it great for task work, but that also means it needs a dedicated wall outlet power. But to be honest, if you already have a desk lamp or light and you're happy with it, as long as you're not keeping it too close and pointing it directly at your screen, I don't find glare that much of an issue in the real world. But monitor light bars are definitely a clean and modern way to get the same benefits. But hope you guys enjoyed this one, you know what to do, and I'll see you in the next video.